What's going on? Welcome on in for a trade recap. Tuesday, September 19th, down $186 on the day. There's a bunch of trades in here, and I want to recap essentially what went down and what happened. So this is one of those days where I have to fight the urge to do something. And the reason why I say that is because I legitimately do not have a systematic way to approach a day to not trade yet. And when I say that is I mean I do not have clear-cut data that tells me, oh, there's a Fed meeting tomorrow, don't trade today. You could say the reason why I say that is because when you think in that way, that's me, but taking myself out on a given day for a reason that is me thinking I know what's going to happen on that day, if you catch what I'm saying, which I don't think is a good way to think in general about your trading just no matter what. So coming into today, I thought to myself, yes, we have a Fed meeting tomorrow. Yes, fair. But if there are good chart setups, it doesn't really matter. I will take those setups. And there were, in my view, it's just that these setups just didn't give you the push. And you'll see them throughout today's trade recap. It's going to be a bit longer because there's a lot to talk about. But I think it's all good stuff. Am I mad about this number? Not really. My max loss is 250 on a day. So inside of our max loss day, yes, it is large and it does kind of play back into that same theme, right? Where we've got really good, consistent small wins. Now, these are some small wins as in, half take profits, one trade loser, one winner. So a lot of this 7-day green streak, to be honest, as much as it looks like, wow, you were really good, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I was on I didn't feel like, wasn't that I wasn't on top of it. I was on top of my strategy. It's just that my strategy the market wasn't aligning very, very well with the strategy. So I'm like, the strategy could be it could be doing so much better with momentum, just not getting it. So it's fine. It's not, and just like anything else, you could jump strategies and, try this, try that. And then when things come back to where, you're one that you were trading before, you're going to miss it. So I'm not going to try to jump strat. I'm not going to strategy hop, none of that stuff. I'm just going to learn about the strategy, execute it properly. When times are aligned, we'll do very well. When times are not aligned, it's about mitigating the downside and protecting your downside so that we can be on the plus side of, a week, a month, a year, right, in profitability. That's just what it is. That, in my opinion, is actually trading. What a lot of people push, or not push, I think what a lot of people make you want to believe is that you could come in, do this one day, play breakouts one day, dip buy one day, play the VWAP bounce one day, play, and just play different strategies, opening push, like play the open one day, play the close one day, trade midday one day. There's always different opportunities, right? But I just don't see the consistency in doing that. I think it's very difficult on your mental game, which, as we know, is the majority of how this stuff works. The strategy is fairly straightforward. So inside of this, I mean, technically speaking, we are green on the month, barely, but we have a win rate that's sub 50% and we're green on the month, which I think is pretty good. It's a decent spot to be in. Hopefully momentum continues or comes in, at some point, but I'll be here whenever it happens. It doesn't really matter. It is what it is. Just market's a market. You can't really force or do anything. So AMD, SPY, Microsoft, IWM. I'm going to go through all of these guys. By the way, IWM is pushing down towards lows. So we got stopped out of that one and it's going to potentially go our way. It's just kind of the nature of the day, but it's just the same thing. It's that there wasn't momentum on the breaks. So how do you play it, right? That's kind of how my mind is viewing these. So let me go to my main or my trade list. First was AMD, and my AMD trade today was actually I thought it was a decent trade. It was actually underneath this level right here, not this blue line. I got in around that blue line, but it was on this break. So what I'm seeing is a push down the open. I don't trade the open. 15, 20 minutes later, I will, if there's a setup. Came back, bounced off 101, got back up here. I didn't actually trade on the break of this double bottom low. I did not. I actually traded on this candle. So I just was watching it, and then I got in when we broke down under 101. Got a little push in our direction, 20, 30 cents, whatever, and then it came back, stopped me out as it pushed back up. The next trade was on SPY. Here's where things get a little more interesting. So this SPY trade actually should not have lost, and I'm going to explain why. This honestly could have been a green day or even a break-even day or whatever. It's technically the SPY trade could still be in. You're just getting a lot of decay when this just kind of chops around. You're just getting kind of chopped through decay. I still play next Friday contracts, so shouldn't be a problem. But it's still something to deal with. So I'm gonna add up the 9 EMA on the chart. That's this this yellow line. The white line is the VWAP, the volume weighted average price. Here's my problem. So I saw this SPY move down. I drew a level right here at this low of the day. Big move down on a good volume, says weakness. We consolidate, stay weak, break down low of day 10, 15 minutes later. So I'm like, okay, we consolidated, nice, breaking low of the day. It snaps back. I stop out over the top of the consolidation, so I just barely get stopped out, only for it to reject off the 9 EMA and continue to trend down. And technically speaking now, as I look at this trade, I just hit a new low today. I don't know what I would have done, but it would have been a green trade, worst case scenario, because at this point in time, if it comes back to my break even, I'm stopping out break even. So here's what I've now, another piece, little tweaks to the strategy. To avoid getting this or being in this situation, right? I have to understand after big moves, right? The moving averages and stuff, they're going to have to take time to play out. Now, do I really care about moving averages? The base of the strategy is I don't need a moving average, but it's a guide. And so what this guide tells me is that with momentum, as long as we have not crossed back above or below the moving average, the 9 EMA, and based off my strategy, we're fine. There really isn't a reason to stop out until that crosses. And that's generally going to keep my risk pretty tight, so I don't have to worry about having massive, like if you play the VWAP, I mean, the risk could get pretty out of control because the VWAP could be way off from where you're at on a strong momentum day. So I don't like playing that. It's a guide, but I don't like using that as the risk necessarily. Sometimes it lines up as a good spot, but I don't like always using that. So for me here, I have to understand, like, yes, right, we are breaking down when I entered. The problem with this was on the breakdown, right, we hadn't really consolidated for very long. It was 10 minutes, which is fine, but not very, very long, which didn't allow for the moving average to catch up, which really didn't give this potentially some time it needed to breathe. This is kind of how I want to phrase it. And so it was a bit quick on the break. Still fit the strategy. It was still fine. Bigger picture charts, everything lines up. Like, we played shorts here because everything told us to go short on the bigger time frames. We're not going against that. Like, I'm fine. I'm happy with the initial thoughts and the view of the trades, right? But then it comes back up, and what does it do, right? It pretty much rejects perfectly off the level. So what do you do in the future? I have to either size accordingly so I can allow it to risk off to the 9 EMA, or I have to wait for this to consolidate longer or for the 9 EMA to catch up to align with a pretty good spot of risk, right? So that's kind of how I could have played it. Is it great? No, because even still, I would have had a nice little push down, sure. But then new low of the day, but like you had this consolidation for like an hour or 2 hours. So that's an hour and a half. So that's pretty, in my opinion, not great. But technically, it worked. Microsoft and then IWM. So, I mean, too much shit, I think, to go into, but, nothing terrible. It wasn't like I played, massive losses and had to deal with that. No, this is a valid trade as well here. Very valid, in my opinion. I thought it was actually a really good trade. And it kind of worked, but then it didn't. So same thing here, right? Breaking down, establishes a nice little low right here, clean at this like 325.35 area, bounces up, comes back on that break. We will play. Stayed below VWAP, stayed pretty much below the 9 EMA, so showing momentum to the downside is still there, trending downside, great. break that blue line, get in. Got in, nice little push in our direction, and then got stopped out on the rest. This actually was a green trade, as what TradeZella is going to track. Technically, it's a break even in my opinion, because I did end up taking small profits here at low of day and on one of the 3 contracts, and then I let the rest of it come back up and stop me out just around break even, or just shy of, or just after break even, or whatever. So again, like, this was our momentum. Again, is that what I'm looking for in my strategy? No, not really. Is it, can you make money on that? Yeah, but is that really going to be what, gives me a nice momentum mover, a nice partial take profit at 10+%, next take profit at 20 plus? It's not going to get you that. No. So again, a good sign of like, no, momentum is not there. IWM at 10:07 a.m. This one, let's see, where is she looking at right now? Made a new low of the day, or double bottom. It still could make a new low of the day here, I guess. So here's a level. This is a beautiful one. So a lot of wicks right here. Come back up, stay below the 9 EMA, stay nice and weak. Put pressure on those wicks. I got in right here. Trade goes slightly in our direction. Again, it breaks down under this 65, 81.65 or 181.65. Goes to 181.41. A mere 24 cents. Love it. And then comes back up, messes around. This is where I stop out, because it just didn't go. Momentum was not there. Now, do we lose a lot of money on this? No. But again, you see how the theme is. Stuff adds up. And there you go. So, but do I still have, like, these charts look good? Go to even the 30-minute chart on this IWM. It looked good, man. You had like a nice, and this looked really good at the time. You had big candle, first candle, whatever. Okay, second candle comes down here. Third candle stays underneath the highs of the second candle, puts pressure on that level. We break that level. I want to get in. We got in, and it just didn't push at the time, and so the timing was off, or the momentum is not there at the time, so you get out and you move on. But that's the nature of how this this game is. I think this is more like real trading, because it's a strategy that you're following. The game now becomes, in my view, can we craft a much more systematic approach to when not to trade, or when, like, because in the past, what I have had problems with, if I go back to this guy here, so above me, are like the P&Ls by day. This big one right here was me veering from the strategy, from the system. So, like, it is what it is. Like, that's just, you can't do that. I have not done that since. Today was not veering from the system and strategy. It just was a day where moves set up, but then didn't follow through, which is like part of life, part of trading. Like, it's just part of the game. Does it happen all the time? No. Do we want to avoid when it happens? We'd like to, but the game is now, how do you come and create a systematic way to view the market based off of XYZ or whatever criteria to tell you to not do that. In the past, I thought, okay, when SPY isn't moving very much, when SPY is in a very tight range, well, guess what? You didn't actually have that today. Technically speaking, SPY's in a decent range. 443.25 down to 440. That's a $3 range. It's not a lot, but that's enough, I think, to move. Like, that's enough to get moves. So you actually had some range on SPY. It wasn't like SPY was in a $1 range or a $2 range. It was in a it's ranged $3 so far, and it's just been, about 2.5 hours since the open. So that's kind of like the next piece of the puzzle that we want to try to unpack and try to figure out in the trading strategy right now. But with that said, I'm not mad. I'm not really mad about the day. It is what it is. This is just part of the game. If I had avoided veering from the system, I'd have be on a much better track for the month. But we're technically green with a 45% win rate or 46% win rate. I'm okay with that. And then hopefully now we've got this Fed meeting and we can get better direction post Fed meeting on Wednesday. So chances of tomorrow of trading, Now, we'll see what we get. If charts look good in the morning, we'll see. But if the range is not really there and charts don't look good, I won't do anything. I really didn't think I was going to see charts that look good today. But again, like I said, it would have been easy for me to not trade. And I guess maybe it wouldn't have been easy. I don't know. You always look at the market and see what opportunities are there. But when I came at the market and I see opportunities, I'm like, well, these are setups that all fit the strategy right now. Like that is like, it technically would be my job to trade the strategy properly to take those setups. So how do I not take them? Right. And so if they had all worked, I would have been kicking myself saying, you sat back and thought you knew the market was going to chop today. It ended up chopping today. So I guess I was right. But if I had operated with that and then things didn't chop and we had momentum, I would have been like, again, I held myself back from taking advantage of opportunities because I thought I knew what the market was going to do, but it didn't do that. So you can't, again, my whole point is that I don't want to even think that I can think I know what the market's going to do. If you know what I'm saying? So that's the deal. If you're going to not trade today, you're going to not open the charts and not even look, right? Like if that, then that's the deal, right? If you're going to say, hey, I'm not trading today, I got this stuff to do. Okay, fine. Like that's not, it has nothing to do with the market. It's just, it has to do with you either not being mentally ready, you've got other work to do, or you can't commit time and focus to the charts, or you just want to take a day off mentally, right? You might want to take a day off, which you can do at any time. And then you can come back and review charts, but you can't get mad at yourself because you weren't trading today anyway. Opportunities will be there the next day, whatever. There'll always be opportunities. Long review, but I think it was valuable and important to at least talk about my thought process there. Again, am I some professional trader? No. Am I, trying to do this systematically? Yes. Am I trying to be transparent? Yes. And I think that that's more valuable than coming in and trying to tell you that you can switch and strategy hop day after day. No one's going to tell you to do that, right? But then what are people actually doing? That's what they're doing, to strategy hop. And it might work if you are aligned with the market, but when you're not, it could lead to massive losses and just a really bad state, which I've been before. So I'm trying to avoid falling back into that rut, that trap. But that was today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll leave links to TradeZow where I track all the stuff and everything else that I use in the video description box down below. And I'll see you guys in the next trade recap. Peace.